All right. Good evening, all, and welcome to ANC3C's October 2025 monthly public meeting. We will go ahead and get started with the establishment of a quorum. So 3C01,
I'm present.
3C02,
Here.
3C03 is myself, and I am here. 3C04.
Here.
3C05 is absent. 3C06 is absent. 3C07.
Here.
3C08.
Present.
All right. Excellent. Just for the record and for transparency's sake, we did receive the resignation of Zachary Chabon from 3C05 earlier today. So that will be officially declared as vacant in the DC Register by the Board of Elections, likely in the October 31st edition of the Register. At that point in time, there will be the petition circulation period. The dates will be announced as well as the challenge period. So folks have that time to pull a petition that if they want to run and live in that SMD. And go through that process. So for now, it's in absence until it's declared officially vacant by the Board of Elections. And Commissioner Prinzo, was that the language that I was from OANC?
Yeah, the only thing that Kent said to add was that effective when it's in the register that the whole number of the commission is 7 for quorum purposes.
Right. But today we're operating at 8, so we need to maintain 5, which we have. All right, so I can verify that notice was sent via our website, our newsletter, subscription base, and all of the usual listservs that we notify of our meetings. We will now move on to the approval of the agenda, which includes the approval of the items on the consent calendar. I have a few changes to the agenda and consent calendar that I would like to make. The first one being that we add under commission business, after the treasurer's report, we add the discussion and vote on the fiscal year 25 Q4 quarterly financial report, QFR. Is there any objection to adding that to the agenda in that place? All right, hearing and seeing no objection, we will add that. The next item I was looking to add to the consent calendar was the support of HPRB application of HPA 25-384 for 3034 Newark Street, which is a concept side addition and alterations, which we heard at our last Residential Historic Preservation Committee meeting and actually is in
Zach's district.
Zach's district. So is there any objection to adding that to the consent calendar? There's no neighbors objecting anymore to the proposal as we heard at the committee meeting. Any objections? All right, hearing none, I will now read off the remaining items on the consent calendar that would be approved with the approval of the agenda, and again, the items on the consent calendar. So the items include the approval of the September 2025 meeting minutes, support of BZA application of case 21-387 for 3401 Lowell Street Northwest to construct a side addition and a rear 2-story plus cellar addition to an existing detached 2-story plus cellar principal dwelling unit in the R-1B zone. Support of BZ application of case 21-356 for 3112 Woodley Road Northwest to construct a 2-story basement with rear addition to an existing detached 2-story with basement principal dwelling in the R1B zone. The support of HPRB application of HPA 25-425 for 2829 29th Street Northwest, a 2nd floor addition on an alley garage. The previously added support of HPRB application of HPA 25-384 for 3034 Newark Street, concept side, addition and alterations. And finally, a letter to the Office of the DC Auditor requesting an audit of the Office of Unified Communication, OCU's compliance with the Secure DC Act. Objections or further changes to consent or agenda? All right, hearing and seeing none, we will move forward with the agenda, and all those items mentioned on the consent calendar are approved and will not be further heard at this meeting. All right, so moving on to the presentation portion of our program tonight. First up, we have a presentation by the District of Columbia Office of the Tenants Advocate, OTA, to inform us about their statutory mandate and services. So if someone from that agency can raise their hand or come on video, I can move forward with this portion. Nicole. All right. Let's
Hi
add a
there.
video.
Is it
Well-
okay if I go ahead and share my screen?
Let me make you a co-host so you can do that. And
Okay.
absolutely, and welcome and appreciate you guys reaching out to inform our community this evening.
Of course. So let me go ahead here. Okay. I have a quick presentation. I promise I will be fast. Because I know you have a packed agenda. But so my name is Nicole, and I'm from the Office of the Tenant Advocate. I'm in the Education and Outreach Department. And if you've never heard of us, we're a teeny tiny office. We're about 20 people, give or take. And we've actually been around for about 20 years. So we've had the same director, Miss Joanna Shreve, for the past 20 years. And we're sort of separated into 3 different branches. So I'll talk about kind of how each one helps the community and how we connect with tenants. So the first is our legal branch. This is the main way that most tenants get in touch with us. So when tenants are having a problem with their landlord, they can come to us and talk to someone in our legal branch to get legal advice, right? So we'll offer technical services, legal services. Sometimes, depending on the case, we might help with representation in court if the tenant is going to court for some reason. Or sort of mediation or things like that. So if a tenant is having some sort of dispute with their landlord and they really need an attorney for free, they can call us and we can support with that. So that's the main way that most tenants get in touch with us. So the best way to do that is to give us a call at 202-719-6560. You can also write to us on the sort of Ask the Director thing on our website. And you can also come in person to our new office near Union Station at 899 North Capitol. But, calling is usually the fastest and most efficient way. And any of these types of issues that you might be experiencing are reasons to give us a call and we can help. So anything having to do with eviction, rent increases, rent control questions, any questions about your lease generally, like if you don't understand a lease provision, call us and we can help with that. If you have any housing code violations, we can point you in the right direction to get those enforced. If you move out and your landlord didn't return your security deposit, we can help with that. We are known to get people their deposits back. And anything having to do with TOPA, we can help explain that. Things about TOPA are a little bit crazy right now, so we're working on once council passes permanent legislation having to do with TOPA. I think they were just fixing it yesterday or today. Then we'll have more information on that. And then just enforcing tenants' rights generally. We offer trainings for tenants to give us a call, and we're happy to schedule those to sort of make sure tenants know what their rights are. We also have a policy branch. So this is how we talk to council mostly, and we talk to ANCs, and we sort of get the temperature for how tenants are feeling so that we can advise the mayor's office and the council members as to what kind of legislations to pass to help tenants. So for example, council offices have been asking us a lot about the Rental Act and our opinions on that. And, any sort of legislation that's sort of a tenant's rights or tenant community focused legislation, they'll come to us and ask us for an opinion. I'm from the Education and Community Outreach branch, and we go out to meetings like this and we talk to tenants. Probably at least 2 nights a week, we're out at tenant associations at buildings, organizing tenants, getting them involved, making sure they know what their rights are, giving classes, all of those types of things. So if you're ever interested in a class from us, let me know and I'm happy to set that up. Or if you have some event where you want us to table and hand out resources, we're happy to do that too. So there's one actually this Saturday. Robert White's office is hosting an event at the Arc in Ward 8. And so we'll be there. It's like a housing fair. So come on out and see us. And as I said, tenant association. So give us a call at that same number at 202-719-6560 if you know of a tenant association who could use some help in organizing, and we're happy to do that. These are just sort of a sample of some of the classes that we offer. We offer Lease 101. We offer a class on housing code violations. We offer renters' rights, several classes on TOPA and tenant associations. We have a sort of new class on how to research your landlord, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, just reach out to us if you're interested in any of those. And then our fourth branch is our temporary emergency housing program. It's kind of a little known area of assistance we offer here, but essentially when a building has a fire or a flood or some type of major closure where either the fire department or like the Red Cross or the Department of Buildings comes out and says, this building is unlivable right now in this condition because of the smoke or because of the water or whatever it is. When that happens, we actually house tenants in temporary housing, usually in hotels, for up to 2 weeks. And this is not meant to be permanent housing for people who need housing. This is just when there is some sort of government closure of a building that was, not anything the tenants had a fault or had nothing to do with, and they need some place to stay to kind of get their bearings, we offer that. So this program is fantastic and it runs out of money almost every year because we have so many, occasions where this happens, where there's a fire or a big flood, and we have to assist tenants. So this is sort of a special program that we offer. I don't think there are other jurisdictions that offer this. I think DC either was the first or still is the first and only to offer this. So the last sort of quick update I want to give tonight is on the rent control rent registry. This is a long running project that, took almost 10 years, I want to say, from when the DC Council passed legislation to make this rent registry happen, to actually kind of get all of the agencies to participate and put their data into it. But finally, we're coming to the end. So there's a website called rentregistry.dc.gov, and it's run by the Department of Housing and Community Development. And essentially, the purpose of this is to have a database online where you can find all of the rent-controlled housing. So if you were a tenant and you wanted to search for rent-controlled housing, once all of the data is uploaded onto this website, you would be able to do that. You'd be able to say, where is there rent-controlled housing in the district that perhaps I could move to? Now, right now, we're in the data input stage. So landlords have until the end of November, I think it's November 30th, to input all of their information about all of the units they have, whether the units are rent controlled, whether they're subsidized, all of that sort of info that they have, they need to be uploading onto this website. That's the landlord's responsibility. Now, the tenants actually have this new website as a sort of portal for them to submit paperwork to the Department of Housing and Community Development. So if tenants are in rent-controlled housing and they suddenly turn 62, or if they have a disability, and they want to register for lower rent increases because of those things, because they're 62 or they have a disability, they can now do that online. It used to be sort of a paper process, but the online process is much sort of more streamlined and quicker. So we at the OTA are trying to get in touch with tenants who this might apply to help them do this process, because we know that sometimes for seniors, they're not as well versed at, signing up for things online, for example. So we're holding a number of registration clinics to make sure that seniors who are newly 62 or who do newly have a disability and are in rent-controlled housing can register here. So if you know any seniors who this might apply to, the key is they have to be in rent-controlled housing for this discount. But if you know seniors who this applies to, please put them in touch with us. And we'll be distributing information soon about these clinics we're going to offer. We're partnering with the Legal Counsel for the Elderly and DOCL to run these clinics at libraries and community centers and things like that. And that's pretty much what I've got. So just generally, if you have any questions, give us a call. We're around, and we're happy to help. And I'm happy to take any questions you guys have.
Super, thank you. I know that there's a number of tenants associations that have been helped by your office to be stood up in our ANC, and we appreciate that. Do you need to have a tenants association necessarily to have like go for tenants' rights for a building writ large? Like, is that step one, and then you can complain about whatever the property management or landlord is wrong about?
Yeah, so you don't need to. Like nothing in the law requires that you have to have a tenant association in order to start exercising those rights or to like put in requests for, the city to come inspect or anything like that. So no, you don't have to, but that said, it's a good idea. It's a sort of a collective action thing, right? Where the more tenants you get involved as part of the process, the more strength and power you have. So I always encourage it. I tell tenants I'd love to have a tenant association in every building. But you don't have to. If you feel like that's too much of a thing to get started and you just want to put in your own sort of maintenance requests or whatever it is, absolutely you can do that too.
Okay, and then another thing that's come up recently in my SMD at least is the increases to electricity and gas bills that were supposed to be included in the rent when you signed your lease, and now all of a sudden, without seemingly like any kind of real notification, they're like a particular landlord nearby me is just gone ahead and is charging arbitrarily like a new number that was not included in the rent, right? But they said it was.
Yeah.
People are scared to fight. This is a rent control building, and people are like, and rightfully so, a little scared to push back on that.
So two things, and you're absolutely right. That's a problem district-wide, I think. You're not the only person I've heard that from. There's kind of two things going on. There's one, which is that landlords are sort of throwing out these charges that they shouldn't be throwing out because they weren't in the lease. So generally, if something is not written into the lease, the landlord can't charge you for it. So they can't suddenly make it up halfway through and say, actually, I'm going to start charging you for water because it's getting really expensive for me. If it didn't say in the lease you had to pay for water, you don't have to pay. So if tenants are in that situation, they should definitely call our office and our attorneys can help them express that to the landlord. And then the second thing that's also happening, and this is definitely citywide too, is that a lot of landlords, especially for these like big corporate buildings, are using these third-party billing systems called like ComService and others. Yeah, I see you raising your hand. Yeah, so that's very common where landlords are using those services and then coming up with these crazy formulas to come up with fees. And the tenants don't really know where these fees are coming from because it's not explained clearly, and they get the runaround between the company and the landlord as to like what they should actually be paying and what their usage is. So I know the council is actually taking up legislation on this issue. I think it was Charles Allen who proposed the legislation initially. And I want to say Matt Fruman is also in on that too. Don't quote me on that, but I think he was also a co-sponsor. And so if you feel very strongly about this issue, you're affected by that issue, write to your council member and write to, the at-large council members as well, to let them know what you might want to see in that legislation. Because I know that council is already talking about it and coming up with some sort of way to limit the way landlords can do that.
Okay, super. I have a couple more questions, but I'll let Commissioner Prinzo go ahead.
I just have two. I can be very quick. First of all, thank you for coming. Your office is probably, if not the most efficient office in the DC government, it's definitely one of them.
Yay.
My first question is, can you send us that presentation? Because I know that there's a building in my SMD that's trying to get a tenants association formed, and I'd love to share that with them.
Yes,
And you
absolutely.
do mention Conservice. There is a building in my SMD, which will remain nameless, may or not have been mine, that charges like, I want it like when I was, my water bill every month was $500, and I was not
$500.
living there at the, like I was on vacation or I was away. And so when I asked to see a copy of the water usage, they were like, oh, you can't have that. It's not your account. It's, you know, like it's in the name of the building. Eventually they sent it to me, and I was using the exact same amount of gallons per day down to the second decimal point every single day for the entire month. And it just seemed very shady because it was like Christmas time and I was not here. So like should be no water. And so I used to say, like, unless my dog is running the bathtub while I'm at work, like it doesn't make sense. So I'm glad to see that there is legislation on that. But if people have issues with Conservice, is that something that can be directed to your office, or because it's third party, it's not? Okay, great. Thank you.
For that specific scenario, since that's like so egregious, I mean, that sounds particularly suspicious. I would say call and talk to one of our attorneys, and they would probably want a copy of your lease to see exactly how your like utility addendum is worded, and they probably want a copy of those water bills. But I would send it to them as that specific. I know like citywide it's a whole thing, but that
Yeah,
specifically
because
sounds
I know I'm not the only one in my building that had at least a $200 or $300 water bill every month.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and then, so do other commissioners have questions? And then I'll just ask two more, and then we'll go to the community for any questions. No? Okay. Um, on the rental act, will you then be adding to your suite of trainings? I believe they're supposed to do the fix tomorrow. Would you then be adding to your suite of trainings, like how that informs TOPA and how that informs other things, and do a roadshow with that bit
Yes.
highlighted? Okay, because that was
Yeah.
a number of folks in our community also voiced an interest in. So just wanted to confirm that, like, but they got to fix or finalize the legislation first before you.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're gonna have to change like a majority of our our renters' rights and our TOPA trainings and tenant
Okay.
association trainings. But yes, that's exactly the plan. Is like once they've actually passed the bill and we know what's in it and we and no one's confused,
Okay.
then we will change everything and we'll go through and start giving those presentations as the updated presentation, right?
Cool. We'd be super interested in having you back for that.
Absolutely.
Work while you're here. But thank you. Okay, cool. And then on the rent control database, I know it's taken forever for it to get up and running, but and that bit of time between when it was first like publicized and introduced and went through its legislative process and now when it's finally being enacted, people forget that it even happened, right? So
Yeah.
there was a lot of initial like fear, speculation, and rightfully so, when people were getting notified, like, you need to put your stuff in a database. They were like, whoa, 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 what's this all about? Are you guys like getting better at addressing those fears and like making people more comfortable so that it doesn't feel scammy? And like, are you having success with that? Do you need help like from us with like having more community outreach regarding that? Like, what? Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, the good news is from the tenant perspective, there's not a whole lot that they have to do anymore. I think originally the idea was the tenants would have to go in and put stuff in, and then that was deemed, don't need to do that. Um, so from the tenant perspective, there's not a whole lot unless you're again like filing a tenant petition is also another thing that tenants would have to do in there. So there is that. And just if you're suddenly turning 62 or have a disability. Um, it's really on the landlord side where we've seen just people have not been putting in. I mean, like November 30th is the deadline, but my understanding is that very few landlords have actually put in their stuff. So I think the data will not be as complete as everyone is hoping on November 30th or December 1st, whatever. Um, so, it's really about like in having tenants encourage landlords to like, hey, get this done so that we have a complete database and we know where we stand in terms of rent control in the city. So I think putting pressure on landlords to actually put in their end of the bargain is really important. I do want any tenants who don't know if they're properly registered right now, to go ahead and do it because it doesn't hurt to do it twice, just to make sure that you're covered. Because I would hate for tenants to have a rent increase come next May and not realize that their rent is increased too high because they were supposed to be receiving that 62-year-old discount and suddenly now they're not. So any tenant who is unsure, err on the side of caution and go ahead and put in your info, because that way you're still getting that discount.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, any other commissioners have questions? Anyone in the community have questions? And you can use the little virtual raise hand, come on camera, wave your hand at me. Connor.
Hi there. I was a little curious. If you don't live in a rent-controlled unit, what are some of the things you can do to just be aware of your rights? Just a general catch-all. Sorry, it's not more specific.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. If you live in what's considered like a market rate unit, you don't have the rights of rent control, which basically means there's no limit on the rent increase. But all the other same tenant rights you have are pretty much the same as any other tenant. So you still have the right to organize. Like nothing can stop you from having a tenant association, even in a market rate building. You still have TOPA rights depending on how the legislation plays out tomorrow, potentially. You have the right to have repairs made, to take your landlord to court. Like all of those other tenant rights are still yours. It's just really pertaining to rent increases for the most part, where that rent control thing is a barrier. So in rent controlled units, there is a limit to how much they can increase the rent every year, but in market rate units, there is not a limit. So technically, they could increase your rent 5% or 10% or 20% if they really wanted to every year. But that's really the like major difference. And if you don't know if your building is rent controlled, a very general way to know is that buildings that were built after 1975 are not subject to rent control. So if you're in a new building, likely it is not subject to rent control.
Oh, thank you very much. Actually, one follow-up question, if I may. Um, how do what's like the standard for if, I annoy my landlord by asking for a necessary repair, and then the next year he raises my rent as a retaliation? What's kind of like the standard to differentiate between just standard and like if I say, look, you've only raised the rent like 2% every year for the last 5 years, but now you're raising it 20% because I asked you to get rid of mold. Would that be like a standard?
Yeah, you could make that case, that that could potentially be retaliation, which is landlords are not permitted to retaliate against any tenant. So that is a right that you have to not face retaliation too. That's actually a way that a tenant association can sometimes become important because if you as a tenant association are talking about the kind of rent increases everybody's getting, you have a point of comparison and you could say, well, my neighbor also had a rent increase at this point, but it was much lower than mine. Why is that? Is this retaliation? So that sort of helps you with extra data points if you're trying to make that case that, yes, I'm facing retaliation here.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Any other questions from the community? All right. Hearing and seeing none. Yes, if we can get that presentation, I think Commissioner Prinzo, if we can find a place for it on our website too as a resource.
We have a tenants resource page, which would be perfect.
Oh,
There we go.
that's perfect.
I want to start populating more of those things on our website than like some of the other stuff that's not as helpful to real people. I mean, I don't think the community is really looking for QFRs, but they're there if they want them. But this is a more tangible resource for folks to use. So thank you again for your time and this information. It's super helpful, and we look forward to when you all have the things sorted out post-rental act, rejoining us for that, because we do have a ton of multifamily buildings of vintage in this particular ANC. So appreciate it.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So next up on our presentation section of this agenda is a presentation by the DC Office of Planning and then discussion of text and map amendments to create the Cleveland Park Neighborhood Mixed Use Zone and Woodley Park Neighborhood Mixed Use Zone. So I'd like to welcome back our friends at the Office of Planning for what seems to be like the 1000th time. Okay. So Maxine, will you be presenting and sharing screen?
Yes, I will.
Okay, I will make you the co-host and we go ahead and add a pin to you. And then we will get started. I will also preface this by saying we're going to start out with this presentation that's going to go over, what this looks like. We'll go briefly to commissioners for questions because I feel like a lot of us have asked a lot of them. And then to the community for questions and comments. This is not the only opportunity folks have to comment on this. We have an in-person meeting on November 1st at the Cleveland Park Library, and we have set up an online feedback form, and we will also be having a Planning, Zoning, Housing, and Economic Development Committee meeting on November 3rd to discuss this as well. So, not the only time to comment, but a good time to comment. Take it away, Maxine. And again, thank you.
Are you seeing my screen?
Sure do.
Okay, great. How do I get it back? Okay. All right. So good evening, all. Thanks again for having us and accommodating us at this time. And we're always pleased to come out to give a presentation and to get feedback from the ANC and its members. So thanks for having us. So ooh, let's see here. Let me make sure that I'm getting, okay. So the areas to be rezoned covers the area currently within the Cleveland Park and the Woodley Park mixed-use zone. And these areas are also within the Cleveland Park and Woodley Park historic districts. The proposal is a text amendment to create the new Cleveland Park Neighborhood Mixed-Use Zone, which is NMU8A-CP, and the Woodley Park Neighborhood Mixed-Use Zone, which is NMU9A-WP, for properties fronting on Connecticut Avenue. There are a few properties fronting on side streets, and we'll address those later. The proposal also includes a map amendment to map these zones. So next slide. Again, so the discussion about the revitalization of both neighborhood mixed-use zone corridors began during the 2021 update of the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan placed a strong emphasis on the provision of new housing, new affordable housing opportunities, particularly in the areas such as the Rock Creek West planning area, where there is a lack of dedicated affordable housing, along with neighborhood serving retail and service uses. So the comprehensive plan includes the citywide elements, area elements, and map. And in the 2021 comprehensive plan update, the plans were changed to upzone to make the recommendation for higher density in both Cleveland Park and Woodley Park. So based on that, on those recommendations, we had the Wisconsin Avenue Development Framework Plan was done. So after that, so the next step after the
Sorry, Maxine, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to correct that there's also the Wisconsin Avenue Development Framework, but this is the Connecticut Avenue. That
I'm
was
sorry. I'm sorry.
it's
Yeah.
okay because you're
Sorry.
running the process at the same time. It's
Yes.
I'm sure overwhelming.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, but it's supposed to be the Connecticut Avenue Development Framework. And so now we're in the next phase of doing the text and map amendment. And we have also, based on that, we've done the zoning report with a racial equity analysis, and that can be seen in our set down report, and which we had done a presentation on earlier in the year after it was set down. So based on the comprehensive plan, the recommendation for the generalized policy map was for both the Cleveland Park and the Woodley Park areas to be designated as Main Street mixed-use corridors. And these corridors are also within the future planning area analysis, which was accomplished through the Connecticut Avenue Development Plan. Next is the future land use map, which designates the Cleveland Park corridor for mixed medium-density residential and moderate-density commercial, and high-density residential and low-density commercial for the Woodley Park corridor. The proposed zones are not inconsistent with the generalized policy map, which we see here, and also the future land use map, as they would allow a mix of uses, particularly with ground floor commercial uses and upper floor residential uses, including affordable housing. The comprehensive plan also outlines citywide elements which identify these areas as policy focus areas for more housing and affordable housing, expansion of retail services and office uses along the corridors. Okay. So, as I said, also other plans were also involved, and where we looked for guidance. And we had the Rock Creek West roadmap, which identified areas where efforts should be made to increase production of housing and affordable housing, and also supported vibrant public space, retail, and other amenities. The DC Housing Equity Report encourages housing, again, affordable to the city, and the DC Comeback Plan, which encourages removal of barriers to the production of affordable housing. So all of these recommendations went into both the Connecticut Avenue Development Plan and also in the proposed zoning. So in summary, the recommendations of the COMP plan and other plans went into the Connecticut Avenue Development Plan, and they developed recommendations through community outreach, meetings, and conversations. The plan was also reviewed by HPRB, as the corridors are both within the historic districts. So the guidelines provide for guidance to supplement the comprehensive plan direction regarding density and mixed use for new zoning for the area. And the proposed zoning incorporates many of these guidelines pertaining to building use and form. The guidelines do not recommend any specific zoning designation, but give guidance on density, height, lot occupancy, compatibility to adjacent lower density residential uses, and the regulations to implement the policies of the COMP plan. One thing I want to note is that not every provision of the guidelines are relevant to zoning or can be implemented through zoning. So those provisions are outside of the scope of the zoning regulations, such as those addressing the revitalization of public spaces and would be relevant to other approval processes. Next slide. Yes. Okay, so based on the guidelines of the development plan, we created the zoning for the area. So based on the recommendation of the COMP plan for medium density residential and moderate density commercial, the development guidelines recommended an FAR of 5.0 and a height of 75 feet for the Cleveland Park area. And as seen on these slides, the guidelines provide illustrations of the recommended building heights with setbacks for protection along Connecticut Avenue, as well as from any adjacent lower density uses where applicable. Similarly, in the Wisconsin Avenue, let's see, next slide. So similarly, in the Woodley Park area, where the comp plan recommends high density residential and low density commercial, the guidelines recommended an FAR of 6.0 and a height of 90 feet on the west side of Connecticut Avenue. And that is basically because those properties are not immediately adjacent to residential uses. And then on the east side, they are recommending an FAR of 5.5 and a height of 75 feet for buildings. Again, the setbacks are provided as appropriate along Connecticut Avenue and from adjacent lower density residences. Next slide. So a summary of the zoning that is proposed for the new mixed-use zone for Connecticut Avenue is for Cleveland Park is shown here. So again, in Cleveland Park, they would allow a mixed use for medium density residential and moderate density commercial uses, which is generally ground floor retail and residential uses above with a FAR of 5.0. And the new development will be subject to IC plus, to height of 75 feet. There are also recommended rear yard setbacks to provide adjacent residential uses protection and these zones are based on the MU8A development standards. So what we did was to take the base MU8 development standards and then modify them with some of the regulations that are some of the recommendations of the development plan in order to get the especially the FAR and the building heights. So in Woodley Park, let's see here. So in Woodley Park, the NMU9A WP zone, again, is based on the MU9A zone that would allow mixed-use, high-density residential and low-density commercial with a FAR of 6.0 and 5.5 and will be subject to IC with heights of 90 and 75 feet and rear yard setbacks to protect adjacent residential uses. So the new zone also includes provisions for additional non-residential FAR to give flexibility and encourage a variety of commercial uses on the lower floors. As you can see here, the non-residential FAR is a 2, which allows a variety of retail sizes, and it also can help to if retail use has to go or some commercial use has to go on a second floor. So it gives the developer some flexibility. This additional commercial FAR does give some additional flexibility. So other design guidelines to help to activate Connecticut Avenue frontage in both the zones would be having at least 75% of a front facade on new buildings built to the front lot lines. We also recommended having door separations on the ground floor of new buildings, requiring that retail spaces be accessed directly from Connecticut Avenue and at grade with the sidewalk. And then parking and loading would be accessed from side streets or alleys. Next slide. So I mentioned that there were other changes that we're recommending that affects properties that do not front directly onto Connecticut Avenue. So in the Cleveland Park area, there is one property which is within the circle on the side that is zoned NMU4CP and also R1B. And that property is developed with a single family detached house. But due to the size of the lot and the existing house, it seems unlikely that the new zone portion of the lot could be developed with a high density recommendation. And therefore, we are recommending that that entire site be in the R1B zone. In the Woodley Park area, which is on the slide to the left, to the right, there are two properties on Woodley Place that are developed with residential uses and are unlike other properties in the neighborhood commercial areas, which front on Connecticut Avenue and Calvert Street. Both neighborhood mixed-use zones have each, and so we're proposing to rezone those two properties to the RF1 zone. Another area which we got direction from the development framework plan was that in both the neighborhood mixed-use zones have an eating and drinking establishment restrictions, which limit the use to 25% of the linear frontage along the corridor. The development guidelines conveyed that this was an issue to be reviewed, and we have heard that the retail market has changed since restriction was adopted and only served to dissuade entrepreneurs from establishing businesses along the corridors. And so we have also heard from some residents who are in support, and we have also heard from some who are asking that it be retained. But in our conversations with the Department of Building, which sort of tracks and enforces the calculation of the linear footage available, they conveyed to OP that there's a history of information being difficult to track as businesses transition in and out of the market, and at times there's no clear definition of uses that could qualify. And it seems that allowing the marketplace to dictate the uses along the corridor is a better option. And therefore, we are recommending that the new zone be exempted from this requirement. Okay, next slide. So a few clarifications that I wanted to make, and and these come up from time to time when people ask us questions, and we just want to enforce them. That the proposed Cleveland Park and Woodley Park zoning is not a planning exercise. The planning exercise was done at the comprehensive plan and also at the development framework stage, and therefore this is just to implement the plan, the new zoning that is being proposed. The area to be rezoned does not cover any residentially zoned properties, and as you can see, we took out two of the properties that we thought would be impacted, and so we took those two properties out. Design review, we have had a number of questions about design review, and we are not making this a part of these two zones because both of the areas are within our historic district, and any construction that goes on will have to be reviewed by HPRB. Again, that is a public design review process in which the ANC and the community will have input on the design of the buildings. And so we tried not to make things really specific in the zoning so that it does give the HPRB some flexibility in the design of the building and making sure that they are compatible with the historic district. Okay. Let's see. We've had some questions about public space. That is because there's some public space design that is shown in the plan. Again, these are the zone regulation does not address public space or transportation issues. And so those will be will be addressed at either, sometimes some of them are addressed at HPRB, but also through the public space permitting process. And during that process, they will take into consideration the development guidelines that are in the recommendations that are in the development guidelines. And then we had one question about the infrastructure assessment. And one thing I wanted to highlight is that within the development guidelines at that time, there were assessments were done. And the response is that, well, the development guidelines have been in place for some time. And so new assessments will be done when each project comes online, and so that will be done as part of the permitting process. Okay. So, oops. So, next slide. So again, here is the proposed text amendment is not inconsistent with the comprehensive plan and the Connecticut Avenue Development Guidelines. The proposed zoning would support the provision for housing and affordable housing and encourages expansion of neighborhood retail uses and addresses potential impacts on adjacent residential areas. We are therefore asking for your support, and we're available for questions. And of course, you know, we also have you can also contact any of us through email or by phone anytime. And the plans are also on the rezoning plans or reports are also on the OP website. Okay, thank you.
All right, super. Thank you. If you want to flip back to like maybe a screen with like the map,
Okay.
be helpful
What?
for now to start. And then we'll open it up to commissioner questions and then to the community for questions and comments as well. A few other points of note I would like to make. There is not a proposed project to discuss at this point in time. This is literally changing the map, the lines on the map, and the text in the associated zoning and regulations. So there is no project. So it's important to keep in mind. Another popular question is there any law that historic districts regulate the height and density or density of the buildings within a historic district?
No, the height is set by the height limits are set by the zoning. However, let's say the zone permits up to 90 feet. The HPRB can approve a building that is lower than that.
Correct.
But they wouldn't allow, they couldn't approve something that is higher than what is permitted in that zone.
By zoning. Zoning dictates height and density. Historic districts do not. So
That's exactly,
that's
yes,
very different
yes.
and an important thing to point out in my opinion.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you for those clarifications. One other thing that came up from a constituent was DC building code.
Mhm.
So these new buildings are required to be fully sprinkled, is my understanding, especially at this height. So the fire department access, if it did exist as a requirement back in the late 70s and early 80s of having an alley of 75 feet and more for the fire department access on 3 sides of the building is no longer in play because current DC code that is adapted every few years now requires new buildings to be fully sprinkled, correct?
Yeah, that is correct, yes. Mhm.
Thank you.
I just also want to say that even we have heard from the fire department that they prefer to go from the front of the building instead of even through the alley.
Yes, and I'm sure they also prefer responding to a fully sprinkled building.
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay, other commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Littauer, I saw your hand go up first, and then Commissioner Nash.
Hi, Maxine. I'm Samuel, the commissioner down in Woodley Park, especially the east side of Connecticut Avenue on the proposed zoning map on the right side of the screen. No questions apart from just wanted to chip in and share that my appreciation for you, Karen, and Joel's patience throughout this entire process. We're really grateful, and you have my full support. So thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nash.
Ms. Brown Roberts, thanks for this presentation. I have just a handful of questions. Could you, I've looked at the proposed zoning for Chevy Chase, which seems to contain minimum setbacks. So could you speak to why, and I'll just take Cleveland Park for an example, why the proposed zone there doesn't include minimal setbacks when it does in the Chevy Chase zone?
When you say minimum setbacks you mean from the alley or?
From, for example, street frontage or from vertical additions above existing storefronts?
Yeah. Again, we wanted to leave that to, well, there is one requirement that all new buildings have to be set to the lot line. So that's one. The other is that we wanted to leave that up to HPRB. We spoke to the staff person in our HP office, and they said they were comfortable with not having some of these minimums, having a minimum setback, because again, because we're not designing a specific building, and when a developer comes in at that time, they will make that evaluation as to where and how much a setback may be appropriate for each of the buildings.
Yeah, but that would be for maximum setbacks, but what about minimum? I mean, the reason I ask is you're familiar with the legislation that Councilmember Nadeau and other council members introduced this year and in the prior year that would proscribe HPRB from limiting height or density below the maximum allowed in zoning. And if that bill were to pass, there'd be no setbacks whatsoever in the zone. Wouldn't it be prudent to have a minimal setback in the zone here in an historic district?
No, again, because there are some buildings that may work with a historic building that goes straight up. And there are others that they may need to have a setback there. So again, that is a conversation that that we've had, and also with the HP staff about trying to dictate a setback along each block or frontage for each building, because we certainly don't know what the design of the building is.
Okay, I guess I'm still struggling to understand why it's so in Chevy Chase. The second question is the zoning is, as I understand it, to be not inconsistent with the comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
Which elements of the comprehensive plan? Certain ones, all of them?
Just about, well, the comprehensive plan has a lot of elements, and so some are going to apply and some won't apply. So it's not going to be, it's the one that we think that would apply. You know, we have been through, if you look in our report, you will see where we have gone through and taken out all the ones we think that would be relevant to this area and sort of given an explanation as to why. We have also looked at some that we think that that may not be inconsistent, may not be may be inconsistent. Usually those are talking about, you know, demolition or you know, because the plan talks about, you know, this is a historic area, so we maybe won't have as much demolition. But I can't think of at the top of my head right now what are some of the things that we think may be inconsistent with, but there may be one or two.
Sure, sure.
But
I thought there
generally,
are some things, but it would need to be not inconsistent, for example, with the land use element.
yes, yes.
What about the historic preservation element?
And yes, in a report, we call out the historic preservation elements also. Yes.
Thanks. And then just a quick clarification. So this speaks of maximum height with a penthouse of 90 feet, but I thought I saw in the proposed zoning 95 feet. It's a small discrepancy, but which is it?
Yeah, I'm sorry if that was someplace. It's yeah, it should be taken out. 90 feet is the maximum where
90 is maximum. Okay, well,
yeah,
thank you very much.
yeah, for the, and that's in the Woodley Park area, not in not in
Well, Cleveland Park, what is the maximum there?
75.
Okay, but with the penthouse, the allowable penthouse,
Well, yes, there's a 15-foot penthouse.
so
Yes.
it would be 90 feet all in.
Yeah, for zoning, just to be clear, when we're talking zoning, we're not including the penthouse height.
Right, but with the penthouse, it would be
But
90.
with the penthouse, it would be 90. Yes.
90
Yes.
maximum. Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners have questions? All right, we will now open it up to the community for any questions you all might have. If you could raise your virtual hand, they're at the bottom of the screen, and or come on. Maybe Maxine, it might be easier for you to take down the presentation right now so I can see
Okay.
if people have their hands up or not.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Cool. Thank you. All right, we're gonna start with Randy and then we're gonna go to Stella. So Randy.
Okay. I live on Woodley Place and I have a few points. Cheryl Gorelick lives next door to me, and for many years she was the ANC commissioner for this area. And when she saw some of this material, she's been in town and out of town a lot. But when she saw this material, she wrote an email to John Goodman in response to the Woodley Park News. And then it's been circulated in the neighborhood, but I don't know if everybody saw a copy of it. So I'd like to tell you what Cheryl said about this. And it was that the proposal to raise the height of the buildings on the east side of Connecticut Avenue to approximately twice the present height limit, that is to 90 feet, is unacceptable for safety reasons. The alley width is substandard and does not meet DC code now. Now, I know you made some comments about the alley, but so some of that might be different. Another major issue is that 90-foot building cuts off light from the residential houses on Woodley Place, but back on the other side of the alley. And I'm on the east side, and I absolutely know that if you put taller buildings over there, it's going to considerably block light from coming over to Woodley Place and even perhaps farther out to the cathedral side of the park, of the streets. And of course, like you had talked about, it is a historic and residential district, and permitting 90-foot buildings disregards this completely. While the west side is a different story because there's no residential houses there, and the existing apartment buildings are separated by 24th Street, not in an alley that already is insufficient and inadequate and may not meet code. And I'd like to add to that are we forgetting about the 900 apartments that are just now opening up, where the Wardman Hotel was? There's 900 apartments just
Oh.
opening up now. That's adding a lot of density.
Okay. Thank you for the questions and the comments. And as you can see, I was clearly paying attention, which is why I asked the questions about the historic districts density, and also making the clarification about how code has come a very long way since
Okay, I heard you say that.
90s, right? And then and I don't mean to answer for you, Maxine, but uh, this is future planning, so we can't, like, that 900, that wasn't even like on the boards when we started this process, correct? And this isn't a self-fulfilling prophecy where all of this is going to come online in like a couple years. This could never happen. And it will definitely happen slowly. Is that what the Maxine, I'll let you answer it, but this is what has been conveyed in the community throughout this entire process.
Okay, and I have one other small question that's on the map.
Let's see here. Along the east side of Connecticut Avenue, and you're talking about in Woodley,
Yeah.
right? So those, the height being proposed on the east side is going to be 75 feet. And there is a setback, there's a rear yard setback that's required. And then, and then I think as the building goes up to about 65 feet, there's another setback. So those are plus you have the alley. So so it does give some buffer to those residences to the east of the alley. And most of those properties are it's the rear yards of those properties that would be affected. And so we think that the light and air, there may be some shadows and that sort of thing, but we don't think that it would be extensive with the height of 75 feet and the setbacks, with the alley plus the setbacks.
Okay, 75 feet plus a penthouse. And you're saying setbacks from the Connecticut Avenue side, not setbacks from the alley side?
No, the setback is at the rear along the alley. Yeah, the setback that we're talking about right now is from the alley.
From the alley, okay. Do you know, or does anyone know what's happening on the corner of Connecticut and Calvert on the southwest side? Like across from Chipotle and New Heights and Open City? There's been a lot of, there's big fencing and construction now on that
Yes,
corner that goes down to the park. Anybody know what that is?
yes, that is the construction staging site for the pedestrian railing improvement project on the Taft Bridge.
Oh, putting a fence on the bridge?
It is making the fence on the bridge higher than it is. So the chain link that's up now is temporary fence, and it's been approved by NCPC, CFA, HPRB. Went through NEPA and ESI too for fun. To make the railing about 2 feet higher than it is in basically its existing look and feel. And it will be complete in a year.
Okay, so not as bad as the Calvert Street Bridge on Connecticut Avenue.
Design is in the eye of the beholder.
I mean, it's not as high, you're saying.
But and you can, the plans are online if you Google the
Okay,
project.
but that's what that closing off of that corner of the park is about, staging for that construction. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
That's a temporary staging ground. It's National Park Service land that they gave us, or gave DC the permit to uses this staging ground to expedite the project. So they're able to store the materials and equipment and stuff there rather than
Okay.
have to move back and forth. And it's just gonna, it expedites the process of
All right.
construction.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking, though. That was a good question too, and appreciate it. Okay, Stella.
Yeah, thank you for the very informative presentation, Maxine. I'm fairly new to this issue, so it really helped me see what was going to happen. And I know this represents the priorities of the most recent comprehensive plan. I
Yes.
think my question is that there's a whole new comprehensive plan update coming up in 2026, and I'm going to be participating in some of those workshops, and I'm particularly concerned about climate resilience and the health of our corridor trees. So that's kind of the viewpoint I come from. But more generally, I'm curious whether or how the priorities of the new comprehensive plan, which are being developed now, might affect or be affected by this particular commercial corridor plan and the zoning.
Yeah. Well, this plan is implementing the 2021 plan.
Yeah.
And, we were hoping to get it done before, but before the new plan happens. It doesn't preclude, I have a feeling that, this will go over into the new plan. It's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna be replaced with something else, but, you never know. But I think this is a study area that has just been done, will transfer over to the new plan. And of course, it will be open up to any changes that comes with the new plan. If changes, if the community wants changes at that time, that would be an option. But right now, this is implementing the 2021 plan.
I'll put information about the DC 2050 comp plan, which is the process that we're talking about now. This particular thing is building on the 2021 comp plan amendments. So, and my understanding is that we only move forward and not backward, with these elements. Bob Ward.
Okay.
Thank you. I just have two questions. I think it'd be helpful, Maxine, if you could inform us two things. One is, can you talk a little bit about what IZ Plus is and how that differs from how inclusionary zoning works in these areas today?
Yeah, IZ Plus is basically the same thing as IZ. The only thing is that it requires an additional percentage. We go up to between 18 and 20%, where the regular IZ, I think, goes from 10%, that's somewhere there. Why we implemented the IZ Plus is reserved for usually areas where we're changing the plan through a text and map amendment. Because what's happening is that the city is giving these properties this additional density for basically nothing. And so we use so the IZ is sort of a trigger to say, okay, we are giving you this additional density on your property, and we want you to provide additional affordable housing. So it's a way for the city to get more housing, and it's particularly affordable housing into the system. That's the
Right.
short.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have an answer for this, but I mean, I think IZ Plus has been around now for maybe 3
Maybe
years.
3 years, yes. Yeah.
Is it working?
We haven't, I don't know. I cannot identify a project that I don't know off the top of my head of a project. That's something I should look into, to see if we've had any that has been developed where we can say, yeah. I mean, it came at a time, just when, we got hit by COVID and all that. So we
I can
have.
imagine interest rates were a lot lower back when this was passed.
Right, yeah. So, so with the downturn in the market, we haven't seen much new residential use coming online, especially, and I mean, it's also hitting because the funding for affordable housing, they're having problems. So that's where we are right now.
Okay, and then my other
But it's part of the regulations, so we can't do it just because the market is down right now.
right. I mean, I think as feedback to OP, I mean, the things that drive whether a developer develops or not, are dynamic. And I would think that OP's and the Office of Zoning's approach to inclusionary zoning can be dynamic as well and make sure that any sort of regulations aren't actually inhibiting development
Yeah.
because of the cost. Anyhow, the second area I just thought would be helpful is could you just tell people what the next steps are? Like when's the zoning commission going to hear this? What role can the public play in that process?
Yes. So the public hearing is scheduled for December 1st for this one. And you can write letters right to the zoning commission. There's a link that's in the presentation. I'll send this over, and Janelle can post it with the link to the OZ office, to the file, where you can write a letter of support, hopefully, or if you don't agree, you can also write as an opponent, but hopefully you'll write in support. Then at the public hearing, you can also sign up to testify at the public hearing. Parties are given, I think, 15 minutes, and then organizations are given 5, and then individuals are given 3 minutes to speak. So you can come to the public hearing. It's online also, and join the public hearing, and you just sign up, and you'll be called to say your piece. We don't know how many hearings are going to be held. Sometimes it's one hearing. Sometimes it goes to 2 hearings, 3 hearings, hopefully not. But the zoning commission will take their time in going through and make sure everyone who wants to testify gets to testify. So that's the opening there, and we're hoping, to have as many people. So, and they, if you don't write something, you can you can come and testify personally also. Okay.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you. I put the information about the zoning commission things in the chat.
Okay, great.
Including the case file, and you can see everybody else's testimony and everything that's been submitted into the record. It's actually fairly easy to do that. The other thing I just want to note is this is set down as a rulemaking case, so there's not parties.
Parties, right? No parties. Yes.
Okay, so that's why. So that kind of carries on to what the ANC is asking of the community is in a rulemaking case, the ANC is what's given great weight, whatever that is. So that's why we're trying to do our best to engage as much as we possibly can with the community and like getting your questions answered so that you can submit testimony directly to BZA, as well as submit the ANC your feedback so that when we put together a letter, a resolution, or whatever comments we as the ANC will vote on in a public meeting in November, that goes into the record. And that's what the zoning commission also gives great weight to, or that's what the zoning commission gives great weight to, is what you all say to us as the ANC, your electeds. And we are really working hard to do our best to engage across as many platforms in as many ways as possible to collect that so that we can put a thorough report into the record. So I want to, and we just send it out in our newsletter and notice to our listservs again, and we'll update our website to include all of the dates for our future engagements, which again, also I'm not cutting off public comment right now, but while nobody was raising their hand, I figured I'll just cover this. Oh, that's this meeting, so that's not really helpful because y'all are here. We're doing the open house informal drop-in session with members of the ANC and the Office of Planning is going to be November 1st. That's a Saturday from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Cleveland Park Library in the lower level meeting room. And then we also will be having our virtual ANC3C November Planning, Zoning, Housing, and Economic Development Committee meeting, where hopefully we'll have a rough draft and share the results of the feedback form at that meeting, which is why we're asking for folks to provide feedback to the ANC by November 3rd so that it can be included in that conversation via the form that I'm putting into the chat right now. You can also, you don't have to use the form. You can email us at 3c@anc.dc.org or any one of your commissioners who will hopefully share those comments around with one another. Let me know if I missed anything because it feels like a lot. And we're posting flyers all around the community, like to encourage folks to participate in the survey, to join us at these meetings. If you are passionate about this and like want to help post flyers and your buildings are around the area, please reach out. My email is 3co3@anc.dc.gov. All right. Does anyone else in the community have comments on this or questions at this time? Raise your virtual hand or come on camera. All right. Hearing and seeing none, I will again thank the Office of Planning for their time and look forward to seeing them in a couple of Saturdays.
On Saturday, yes. Thanks for having us.
And we'll also be sure to bring out like printed forms too, if like writing is your style too. We want to make things as accessible and as available to folks as humanly possible.
Yes,
So
okay, great.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Let me flip my page here. All right, so now we're going to move on to the announcements portion of our meeting. Does anyone have any single member district reports they would like to report out on? Commissioner Prinzo.
I will be quick, just from 3CO2. Two things. The Calvert Street sidewalk is officially reopened, so you can walk directly from Connecticut Avenue all the way to 29th Street without having to walk on the street now. I have gotten a lot of compliments for Carmel for installing 4 bike racks that the parents at Oyster seemingly love. And with that, I will also say that DDOT came in and put a whole bunch of flex posts on the intersection in front of Oyster, and have since had to come back and remove some of said flex posts because the bus kept hitting it as it was attempting to make that turn, which actually led to a full day of the C51 not being able to make that turn at all. So they have removed, I think, 4 on each side, just to make it easier for the bus to turn and not hit either a car or a flex post or a person. But that is all from me.
Super, thank you. Anybody else in SMD report? I mean, I think I already covered the general like update on the Taft, that construction has started in earnest. So if anybody has questions on that, the site is available, as well as the approved renderings. Also, I just again want to remind people that it looks like Mika's and Jersey Mike's are going to be opening in the next few weeks. With the government being shut down and the zoo being closed, not the best timing. I mean, hopefully it reopens and they're not like opening their businesses and like, so I'm encouraging the community to go there when they open because they're going to need all the help they can get. Anybody else with an SMD report? All right, hearing and seeing none, we will then move on to committee reports, starting with safe, sustainable, and equitable transportation. Do you have anything? Yes or no?
No.
Transparency public process.
We met to discuss the budget, and that's it.
Okay.
Actually, that was 2 months ago. Never mind. We didn't meet.
I was going to say, community engagement and grants.
We have nothing to report, but we will plan a meeting in the coming month because we do have a grant proposal to consider.
Well, that's awesome. Planning, zoning, housing, and economic development. I think we just covered what we're going to focus on next month with the zoning discussion and continuing that on, as well as any other applications we might receive between now and then. Residential historic preservation.
The Residential Historic Preservation Committee met last month. Actually, it was earlier this month to review again the plans for 3034 Newark Street, which the committee had reviewed once before and reviewed updated plans, and they were the subject of the consent action this evening.
Great. And just we put up on the website that folks from 3C05 should reach out to the all office email address. So if anybody does see anything get noticed by HPRB, just in that area, just like flag so that one of us can reach out and cover it, and make sure those homeowners aren't in a void. So looking for some team effort over the next few weeks until that seat gets filled. Environmental justice.
Yeah, we had some trouble scheduling. We have a meeting that we want to hold on street trees and street landscaping, which we'll try to schedule now in the next month or so. Sorry for not to anyone who's on the call who was looking forward to that meeting. I'm sorry we haven't got it scheduled yet, but we'll try to do it shortly.
You know I love trees. You're
Yes.
talking to me right now. So hybrid, virtual, in-person meeting task force. Oh, sorry, I missed public safety, and then we'll go to that.
I talked to Commissioner Nash today about a November meeting. We are working with Councilmember Parker's staff to have hopefully the council member join to talk about his Care for the Youth DC program, or not program, package of bills at our November meeting. I think that's it. Commissioner Nash, if you have anything else.
No, I would just add again, at every Public Safety Committee meeting, we have an in-depth update and briefing from Captain Haskis, Lieutenant Johnson, and other members of MPD on crime trends and efforts that they've undertaken to reduce crime and enhance public safety in the area, and would encourage all members of the community having an interest in these matters to dial into our committee meetings because it's a good informative discussion. Thanks.
Hybrid, virtual, in-person meeting task force. Now our next one was scheduled for November.
I will take it, even though I am not on this committee. It somehow fallen in my lap. I have been working with Jay. We've reached out to OANC, and they have offered use of their mini owl kit for November. If we are still interested in having a November meeting hybrid, please let Jay know, because I've only am aware of one person that has told Jay that they are still interested in having said meeting in November hybrid. We would need to pick a location because, as Chair Paget said, the library fills up quickly. And I did have a conversation with Chairperson Carlson over in 3F, who just had their first meeting hybrid, and she said it's not great, but it's perfect for what you're trying to do. So I don't really know what she meant by that, but again, just let somebody know. Like, we would love to, if there is no interest amongst the commission of having this hybrid still in November and pushing it to a different month, that would be great, because I wasn't on this task force and have decided that decided is the wrong word, have been voluntold that I am now on this task force.
I did not do that to you.
It was not you.
I also want to note that a complication with the Cleveland Park Library is that it does close hard stop at 8. So our meetings are set to start at 7. That's another challenge that I don't know that we fully realized when we set these up last year. Or I forget if the library was open different hours at that time period when we needed to set the time. So some things to consider there. I'm also not on the task force, and I'm not going to be voluntold.
I felt bad for Jay.
So look for that update with our upcoming agenda for next month as to the format. Commissioner Nash, you came off mute. Did you have something you wanted to say? You are part of the.
No, I don't have anything more to say on this. But,
Okay.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. Moving on to Mayor, Council, Agency, Community Organization announcements. So starting with Mayor's office. Anyone here from the Mokers? Kendall, go.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kendall Gibson. I am the Ward 3 manager in the Mokers office, which stands for the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. I have a couple things for you tonight, and then I'm actually going to pass it off to our new team member on the Mokers. She's the new religious liaison. So you'll hear from me first, and then you'll hear very briefly from Charity. So first, leaf season is upon us, and I wanted to invite you all to an event that will kick off leaf season. It's going to take place this Thursday at 11 a.m. Mayor Bowser will be holding a press event to discuss DPW's efforts and how the community can best assist during leaf season. The informational event will take place at Hearst Rec. And is open to the public, so please join. I will message information to a commissioner who can post in the chat. Secondly, I want you to keep your eyes peeled on the listserv, as the Ward 3 Mokers team will be launching a new initiative specific to Ward 3. It's called the Walk Every Street campaign, which I'm really excited about. Last year, Owen and I committed to walking every street in Ward 3, and we did in about 2.5 months. We're in the ward 3 days a week, in the office 2 days a week, so obviously it takes a little bit of time. But it was great for us to learn the ward, and this time when we walk every street, we would like to be joined by neighbors. And I think that we're going to be doing 3C first. So we will be walking 3C SMD by SMD, and we'll be trying to organize people through a form that I will put in the chat. So if you would like to walk with us, there's no requirement for you. You can just show up, walk with us, show us areas of your community, things that you wish could be better, things that you think are going great. We'd love it if you would join us. And so I'll drop a link for you to sign up for the Walk Every Street campaign in the chat. But for now, I'm going to pass it over to our new faith liaison, Miss Charity Beam. Charity.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's good to be with you all. My name is Charity Beam, and I am the new Faith Community Liaison for the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. There's actually 2 of us, so I'm actually with wards 1 through 4. And then I have a partner who's doing wards 5 through 8. If you remember the Office of Religious Affairs, that's actually the 2 of us now. So I just wanted to pop in and say hello, introduce myself, let you see my face. And so if you are a member of a religious community, or if you know of anybody you really want to make sure that I talk to, please reach out. Please let me know. I would love to get to know your community. I'm kind of just starting this all off by like listening and learning. I just started a couple weeks ago, so I'm slowly making my way around all of the wards and introducing myself where there are connections, and also just popping in during the day to see who's around. So please reach out to me. I would love to get to know you all, but I just wanted to come in and say hello.
And that's it from us. Thank you, Charity, and thanks to all the commissioners for having us and being such strong partners for us. So we appreciate you.
Cool. Thank you and welcome. All right, Randy, did you have a question for the Mokers team?
I don't have any idea what Charity's function, purpose, goal mean. What does she do? What is she supposed to? What's this religion thing all about? I don't get what she does. What she's there
Let's let her answer.
Yeah, so I'm really kind of here to be kind of like what the Mokers have been doing, of being kind of that point person between the ward and the mayor's office, but specifically for the faith community. So I think a lot of the examples that have been brought up and brought to my attention is sometimes on big events that these faith communities have, they might have issues with parking because their parking lot gets overfilled. So I can kind of be a contact person to connect with the right agencies to, I can't promise anything, but at least let DDOT be aware that, hey, this church parking lot is going to be full. There may be people parking on the street. Please be generous. Or I've got a church actually in Ward 1 that is getting ready to renovate a new church space. So I can help push their permits through when things get hung up. I can be the point person to kind of ring up, call up the right agencies and be like, hey, please help my church. They really want to make sure their permits get through. So does that kind of answer your question, Randy?
Yeah, kind of practical things, I guess.
Yeah.
In the city. All right, thanks.
Thank you. All right. Council's office. Anyone from council's office here? I did see someone from Chair Mendelson's office here earlier, but it doesn't look like they're here anymore either. Okay.
I just want to note that this is the second month in a row that we have not had council representation here.
Well, I don't schedule them. They have our schedule.
No, I'm not saying that for you. I'm saying that just more broadly.
All right. Any other agencies from DC government here wish to speak? I don't see any. Federal agencies have time off. Community organizations. Cassandra, this looks like you've been on camera there for a while, patiently waiting.
Thank you, Janelle. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cassandra Hetherington. I'm the director of Cleveland Park Main Street, and just wanted to let you know about some events that are coming up in Cleveland Park. This Sunday, October 26th, from 4 to 6 p.m., School of Rock is hosting a Rock the Block Candy Jam event. There'll be live music, pumpkin decorating, Halloween activities, a photo booth, and safe trick-or-treating for kids. Tuesday, October 28th, 5:30 to 7:30, Stitch and Sip at Paragon Tie. It's just an open mic night for people who just want to sit and stitch and sip. Also on Tuesday, October 28th at 6:45, Tuesday Talks. Our guest this month is Seth Waxman. He is the former Solicitor General of the United States and also a Cleveland Park neighbor. And then coming up in November, which is crazy, we're here, Monday, November 10th at 6 to 8:30 p.m. at All Fired Up is an Aurora Borealis Paint and Sip fundraiser for Cleveland Park Main Street with a matching Aurora Borealis cocktail from Buffalo and Bergen. All right. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. Question for you though. When do you think you'll be getting us the survey results from the survey you conducted on the sidewalk?
My advisory committee is working on that right now. So hopefully by the end of the, hopefully soon.
Okay.
I don't know. Hopefully soon. Thank you. We had 315 responses. Very exciting. So thank you.
Thank you. Cal.
Hi there. It's been a few months since I've been on one of these calls. And first question is, I'm going to put some stuff in the chat, but I don't see a chat to everyone. So who do I send the stuff in the chat to?
It goes to all the commissioners and one of us will copy and paste it to everyone.
But it doesn't. It gives individual commissioners' names only.
You send it to me.
You, okay, great. So I have a bunch of announcements. I'm with the Friends of Bus Transit. And we have an online feedback form that we're asking people to fill out before the end of October about the new bus network. And that asks about what you like and don't like about the new system. We also have a series of weekly calls where basically people come on to ask me or other members of my group questions or want to just talk to us. And the next two are going to be this Wednesday and next Wednesday. This Wednesday at 3, next Wednesday at 7:30 in the evening. And it's an open Zoom call. You don't have to register. You just get on the Zoom link and anytime during that hour. And I apologize if anyone from this ANC got on last week's call. I got there about 12 minutes late due to a crisis, and the people who had called in and all left. So hope you weren't one of them, but please try again. And then there's a resources page that we have with mostly the biggest thing is the full list of school trip bus times to get kids to Jackson, Reed, and Beale and MacArthur High School as well. And for the last announcement is that this Saturday we're partnering with Go DC Go. We often partner with other people. The Go DC Go to do a travel training. They did one last year at the Cleveland Park Library about this time last year, I think. And this is going to be from 2 to 4 this Saturday. And this will be the meeting at the Chevy Chase Library meeting room. This is on the second floor. They're asking people to register. There's a limited number of space in that meeting room. And it will consist of a classroom setting followed by a trip out on a bus to the metro station and to help people figure out how to get around and how to ride the bus and all that stuff. So that is there as well. Any questions?
Super.
And so also you said the name of somebody just asked me for the name of the organization. It's the Friends of Bus Transit, and the acronym is FOBUS.
Bobo.
Bus Transit. And what was the other thing you asked me for? And my last name is Simone, although I just mostly recognize it as Cal. And we are going to be putting together a report to get into WMATA because I kind of dig deep into WMATA to try to get changes. So that'll be happening in the next, I don't know, probably 3 weeks or so. Once we cut off the feedback from the feedback form and we figure out what the most important things to lobby for are.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for your work with this and getting more people on the bus.
Yeah, and Janelle, I think you were on the call on the Zoom version we had one day, and there was a screw up where the right maps weren't shown, and yeah,
Yeah.
so the recording did fix that, so that the right maps would be shown for what I'm actually talking about. If you go
Yeah.
watch that, that was our July meeting, late in July. All right, thank you all.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. All right. Anybody else?
Janelle,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Can I ask a question of Cal?
Yes.
Cal, I have a somewhat narrow interest or concern about kids getting from my neighborhood feeds MacArthur, but so I'm in Woodley Park, MacArthur High School, but the public transit options MacArthur seem pretty tough for the kids going. So that's a particular interest in my neighborhood. Is that something that you're taking up as an issue, or are you the right person to talk to about that?
I mean, there's an email that at the beginning of the post that I just sent to Janelle, our email address, the Phobos input email address, send it to that and I'll contact you about that. We're fairly heavily concentrated in trying to get Chevy Chase straightened out because it's a real mess up there. It was even a mess before but it was working. Now things are not working. People are getting into the cars. So, I'm thinking to myself off the top of my head, if I have a quick answer for you, at this point, there's no way to avoid a transfer to get from Lily Park to MacArthur. And there's a couple different ways to do it. But if you want to take that up with me, I can, send an email to the Phobos input and I'll catch it and I'll get in touch with you and we'll discuss that. That work for you? Great, thanks. Anybody else with a question?
Super. All right. Any other community organizations? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we'll move to the community forum where members of the public are invited to ask questions or raise concerns about issues that were otherwise not on this agenda. We'd ask that you be reasonable with limiting time. Anybody in the Connor?
Hi, everyone. My name's Connor O'Brien. I'm having an issue with the Adopt a Block program that the mayor's office has. I am a former Peace Corps volunteer to Ukraine, so I wanted to have something that supported Ukraine on the sign. I actually just recently got back from Ukraine. I was leading a convoy of ambulances. And when I put it to the city, I asked them beforehand, are there any limitations? And they said just the character limit on the sign. And I gave them my application. They emailed me and they said, hop on a call. And I did. And they said, oh, well, it can't be offensive. And I said, well, mine's not offensive. It's just a supporting Ukraine. And every time I've emailed them to ask them, like, what do they mean by offensive and why it's offensive, they've evaded me. And they said, oh, hop on a call, but they never want to put it in writing. And recently they got back to me last week saying, oh, you can't, we can't have it in your block because it's a part of Glover Park Main Street. I'm in 3C08. And I responded that A, it's not in Glover Park Main Street. And B, they said it's the program's only for residential areas, but it's got apartments and houses on both sides. And I also said, look, you also have Adopt a Block programs right on Connecticut Avenue in Woodley Park, right in Massachusetts Avenue and DuPont Circle, in like heavy industrial commercial zones. And they've not responded. I feel like I've just been getting the runaround from the mayor's office.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you because I think a number of us have heard this and been on some emails with you. Have you reached out to Councilmember Fruman's office?
I have. I have not heard anything back.
Okay.
I've tried calling, nothing.
Because like his staff is paid to chase things like this down. It's harder for us to like try and reach out when we can. I apologize for that, but I've tried to reach out to OAG. I'll follow up with them again. My contact over there was on vacation for a while and was playing catch up. And obviously there's like a lot going on in DC right now.
Right.
So I would also reach out to, if you could, the at-large members, constituent services teams. So that's Chair Mendelson, Robert White, Christina Henderson, and Anita Bonds. I forget which one of them heads a committee that.
Anita Bonds
Okay, well, reach out to the other at-larges too.
and Brianne Nadeau, Public Works.
Oh yeah, and Brianna Doe's staff, and like expand that horizon, because those folks like have capacity to chase this down within the agencies that they have oversight over. We don't have any enforcement powers, like, and our next move is usually to go to the council member's office, because the mayor's office is not going to respond to this, because it's clearly like that group that doesn't want to do what you're asking of it. So you have to go to council.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry, not to give you like more work, but like we're trying on our ends, but it's like not working as well. And thank
I
you for
understand.
following up with us, but I feel bad every time you email and I'm like, ugh, I want to help so badly, but it's just.
I know, I totally get it, and I really appreciate it. And also, I do apologize for being so annoying. Persistent might be like a nice way of phrasing it, but it's annoying. So thank you.
But I want you to be persistent with people who are paid to do the thing.
That's a good point. I will do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I do appreciate your tenacity and persistence with it. And hopefully we'll get you in the right direction of people who can do something in a more.
I just want to also announce I also take care of the sunflower garden on Edmonds in Wisconsin. The planting season's over for the season, so we'll give you updates in May.
Okay. Super.
Just to say, I support your effort. So good
Can
luck.
I just
I'm not your...
Go ahead. Sorry, finish. I thought you were done.
That's it. That's really all.
Which street are you trying to adopt? Is it Wisconsin?
Yeah, the 2600 and the 2500 block of Wisconsin, right in front of my house.
Okay. I just do want to note, though, that the 2600 block of Connecticut Avenue is adopted, but it was adopted by the Woodley Park Main Streets program. So that might be why it was allowed to proceed. I don't know for a fact, but I don't know if like me as myself tried to adopt it, they would have told me no, but them as the Woodley Park Main Streets is a different story.
Oh, that's a good point. Thank you for letting me know. I went on their site. They've got like a list of and a map of everything.
Okay.
But they've got like at least a dozen in like commercial areas adopted by businesses. So when they're saying that this is supposed to be just residential, then it's not really panning out.
Got it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. We really like we're cutting it up to time here. So thank you. Andres.
Hi, I'm Andres. I live on Porter Street. It came to my attention recently that the Cleveland Park Target will be closing at the end of the month. And I was curious whether the committee was aware if there's going to be a different business filling that space after that, or if that space is going to remain vacant.
That is private property and commercial real estate, so we don't have any say in that. We get knowledge of new tenants if they require like zoning variance and things, or a liquor license, but we're not tasked with chasing businesses down to go into retail space. So we don't know if anything's going in or not, I guess, is that to answer your question. We obviously all hope there's something that's going in there, but there's no mechanism in our or any of the government scope of work that like we're required to fill the space.
Okay,
This is
thank you.
a question. But if we do hear of anything and we're allowed to tell people, we will.
Looking forward to hearing if there's any news. I hope there's news.
I'm hoping for a bowling alley, but that's
Oh,
just
that'd
me,
be fun.
right? Thank you.
That is all.
Thanks. Anybody else in the community with any questions or concerns? All right, cool. Then we'll move on to commission business, kicking it off with the treasurer's report. Commissioner Kripke. Oh, you're on mute. Heavens.
Okay, let's see. Treasurer's report, I have sent a draft or a memo to the commissioners, which hopefully can be included in the notes. There's really not that much to report from last report. We had some end of fiscal year expenses that we paid out. We paid out for our web hosting. A few checks have not been cashed, so our totals look different than our what's on OANC. That's a thing that has been vexing me in the last couple days or last week or so, trying to get our bank account to look like what's registered with the city. And I've been working with OANC to get that sorted out. There's two new bits of information for tonight that happened basically today. Number one is good news, which is that the city finally gave us our full allotment for the last quarter. So $3,000 has been transferred into our account that had been held back for obscure reasons that I won't get into right now. So we got our full allotment. And the second thing is that Dawn with OANC very kindly spent a long time fixing our account with the city and has produced a fourth quarter financial report for us, which I hope we can take up, review quickly, and approve in this meeting. So that's it. Let me stop there and see if there's any questions about our finances or anything going on.
No, but thank you for chasing the $3,000 that we were wrongfully withheld.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions or comments on the treasurer's report before we move on to the next item, which is the discussion and vote on the FY25 Q4? Hearing and seeing none, we can dispense with that item and move on to the FY25 Q4 QFR. Lots of Qs going on there.
Do we want to look at it? I mean, it's basically an accounting of what happened in Q4. It looks a little bit. Should I pull it up? Is it worth actually talking through? People want to do that?
Thoughts, commissioners? Have you all reviewed it? I mean, maybe just pull it up.
Okay.
Briefly and
Okay, hold on. I'll pull it up just so you can.
People know. One of the other things that I think before we go in this final budget discussion is like to see our balance and like how all of us are totally in agreement that we want more money going out the door in grants and like to the community for betterment projects, and the excess of funds that we have is a historical issue of previous ANCs, and we've really made a point of trying to get those dollars in the community, and we've done a decent job, but we want more. So we want more from the community for the engagement with funding grants and community improvement projects. Can you you have the ability to...
Oh, I think I have it here.
Okay, there you go. Yep,
yeah.
We got it. Thank you.
Okay, so what you see here is our final report. This is as of October 1 or for last fiscal year. Started the month with 22,000 in our checking. We got some funding, some of our allotments from the city. when we spent out a grant to Woodley House. We paid some bills related to Woodley Park Day and some other expenses, and then we ended up the month with about 17,000. In the meantime, the 3,000 there's an additional 3,000 that came in. That's the FY 25 money. So we ended the year with about $20,000 in our checking account and about $109,000 in our savings account. So that's what we have. And this is the final report. If you see anything that looks weird to you, tell me. Otherwise, this is our final report. We need to sign it off and send it to the city.
I just wanted
Anybody
to
want-
that
Go ahead.
under miscellaneous, another one of those, the $5,000 was to repair the call boxes. That was,
Yes,
and that gets classified under miscellaneous.
that's
'Cause
right.
that, like, triggered me. I was like, ooh, I thought that was like last quarter, but then yeah, realized it was included in this quarter.
That's right. That's
Um,
right. So
we
that
had
was
a good amount of like spending in community engagement grant type projects this quarter, and I thank everyone for their efforts on that.
that's right. We put some of this money into the community, which is what we want to do. That said, okay, so I think I should move to approve the quarterly financial report.
Yes.
Is that what I should do?
Second from Commissioner Prinzo. If you want to take this screen down for a second so I can count people.
Yeah.
Move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the FY25 Q4 QFR report as presented, raise your hand or say aye. That's 6-0. Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to the FY26 budget discussion and vote. I don't know how much discussion there really is left since we've talked about it a few times now.
Let me pull it up and
Okay.
I think I can pull it up here. Is this it? Are you seeing it?
We just see our web hosting fee.
Oh.
It doesn't
DQ.
look
Okay.
their
That's not
sheet.
what we want. That's not what we want.
Oh, it was on the other tab though, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, hold on, let me get the right tab on it. Sorry, guys.
At least you don't have, well, you at least didn't show us like an unhealthy amount of tabs open.
Oh, no, I have a terrible, outrageous number of tabs open.
Yeah, I
It's
usually try to make
embarrassing.
sure I only have like a few if I'm going to share my screen. You had a few,
Okay.
and that was acceptable.
No, trust me, my tab situation is out of control. Let me see if I can share this. I think this is it. Okay, here we are.
Yeah, you're
Does
good.
that look right? Okay. So this is, we see, I think you should have seen this already. There's been some slight adjustments to it. One is that we got the full allotment from the city, which I just credited here. And that means we're going to start the year with more like $20,000 in our bank account, and then we'll get 21,000 more over the course of the year. What we're proposing to do is significantly increase our grants and other expenditures to support work in the community. Now, that's like doubling our budget. I should note that we didn't actually spend our budget this year. We had budgeted 12,000 in grants. We only spent 8. We had budgeted 12,000 in other expenses. These are reimbursements for usually community events and things, and we only spent 10. So it's more. If we want to meet our budget, which I think we should try to, we'll have to more than double what we've done this year. But that's what we should try to do. And when we do that, we'll draw down from our savings something in the order of $9,000. This says 12, but since we got the $3,000 from the city, we'll need to draw down less. So this is, I didn't want to change things too much because this is what I said to you, but this is the proposed budget. We can always change this a little later, but I think this is what we should make as our proposed budget. And then later in the year, if we need to adjust it, we can. But this would allow us the freedom to do what we want to do. Any thoughts on it?
I like it. I like setting the goal of spending our allotment every year as like the baseline, and then going above and beyond and spending down that savings, because clearly that historically hasn't gone into the community, and it should, and it needs to. So I'm fully support doing that and doing the work to make it happen. I'll design another flyer after the zoning discussion to solicit more ideas. But I do appreciate it, and thank you. Those are my thoughts. Anybody else?
I agree with Commissioner Puckett.
I agree too.
Good, because I'm gonna need some flyering buddies.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Help with that as well. Okay, so do I move the budget now?
Yes. So
Okay, I move.
I second it.
All
You
right.
have to move it first.
Well, I thought he moved.
Oh, I move that we approve this budget.
I second.
All right. So let's now take this to a vote. The vote is on to approve ANC3C's fiscal year 2026 budget as presented and discussed at previous meetings as well. If you can take this down so I can again count, please.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All right, that is 6-0-20. Thank you.
One final comment is, we've approved the figures. I have to fill in the forms with OANC. I won't bother you with it, but just so you know, there's one more step to the process.
Okay. Do we need to sign those too?
I should know this, but I don't.
That's fair.
The budget document?
Either.
Are you asking for the budget document?
Yeah.
I don't think you have to sign it.
I actually don't think so either. All right.
Because it's a
So
living document. We can change it at any time.
that is our last item on the agenda.
I move.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All right. Thank you all. I'm sorry the meeting went longer than usual, but I think we got a lot done and I appreciate it. Have a
Thank you
good
all.
Thanks, everyone.